Hey everyone, welcome back to Corporate Decoder, the place where we decode the corporate world for you. Today we're diving into Northern Trust Corporation's proxy statement. It's a document most people ignore, but we're going to find the juicy bits, the secrets they're practically hiding in plain sight. You might think a proxy statement is just about voting, but trust me, there's so much more. We're talking executive pay, board shenanigans, and maybe a clue or two about where the company is headed. It's all in here. Upska ready? Let's get started. This report is from Northern Trust, a big financial services company, and it's for their annual meeting where shareholders get to vote. The main things we will focus on are electing directors, voting on executive pay, and confirming their accounting firm. Let's skip straight to the numbers because that's what really matters. Northern Trust is boasting some solid financial results for last year. Their revenue increased by 22%, reaching $8.3 billion. However, keep in mind, this number includes a one-time gain of $879.09, includes a one-time gain of $80.79. Keep in mind, this number includes a one-time gain of $80.79, $9 million sustainable. They also want you to know they've received a bunch of awards like Best Private Bank and World's Best Trade Finance Provider. Awards are great for PR, but they don't always translate to actual business performance. Now, leadership changes. This is where things get interesting. Effective last October, they shuffled some of their top executives, a new chief operating officer, a new president of asset servicing, a vice chairman, and changes in CFO and wealth management positions. That's a lot of moving parts at the top. It sounds like they're trying to shake things up, maybe streamline operations and focus on growth. We will keep our eye on how these changes impact their performance going forward. Let's talk money, specifically who gets paid what. The company's chairman and CEO, Michael O'Grady, had total compensation of $9.2 million. He requested it to be lowered to match the 2023 level, so it was reduced by $1.145 million to $4.7 million. Keep in mind these figures include long-term incentives, which are based on future performance. Time to discuss the board of directors. They are asking shareholders to re-elect 13 directors. Notably, one director, Linda Walker-Bainu, is retiring. There is also a listing of skills and committees for each nominee, which can help investors to evaluate how well they align with the company's focus points. Now let's review the boring but important stuff, corporate governance. Northern Trust highlights all the things they do to stay in check. Independent directors, lead director, proxy access rights. It is important to know they don't have a staggered board or a poison pill, both good things for shareholder rights. They also have regular board evaluations and reviews of their practices. Now let's look at their human capital management strategy. They talk about attracting, engaging, developing, and retaining talent. They mention programs for professional development, rewarding performance, and strengthening workforce and operational resiliency. These sound good, but it's important to know if these initiatives are actually effective in improving employee engagement and reducing turnover. They have a commitment to sustainability, including aiming for net zero carbon emissions by 2050. There is a lot of talk of various disclosure reports that are aligned to some sustainability initiatives. Worth noting is the CARE rating from the Federal Reserve Board of Chicago, which evaluates banks on their commitment to helping lower income folks. This section contains the classic say on pay vote, where shareholders get to give a thumbs up or down to executive compensation. It's an advisory vote, so the board doesn't have to listen, but they usually do, especially if there's a big outcry. The board recommends voting in favor of their executive pay packages, but it's up to the shareholders to decide if they are indeed happy with how much these top dogs make. This part gets into the nitty-gritty of how executives are paid. Their key principles are linking pay to performance, aligning with shareholder interests, staying competitive, and discouraging risky behavior. All the things you'd expect them to say. On the topic of risk, there are multiple layers of risk oversight at play, from the Business Risk Committee to the Human Capital and Compensation Committee. They review incentive compensation programs to make sure executives aren't encouraged to take reckless risks to boost their bonuses. Also, the top executives can have their pay clawed back or taken away for misconduct. The company's audit committee has recommended KPMG to serve as their public accounting firm. As a note on fees, the audit fees are around $5 million, with total fees reaching $10 million, all which were pre-approved by the audit committee. This section shows how many shares the directors and executives own. It's good to see management with skin in the game because it aligns their interests with shareholders. But a big percentage of executive compensation in long-term equity might also make management more hesitant to take actions that may affect short-term earnings in favor of longer objectives. The company has over 3 million shares authorized for issuance under equity compensation plans and over 12 million shares remaining available for future grants. This is something to note because it's a potential dilution of existing shareholders. Finally, some logistical details. The annual meeting is virtual this year. Be sure to register online if you want to attend and vote. Alright, we made it through. So what's the story here? Northern Trust presents a picture of steady growth and success, solid revenues, accolades, and a commitment to sustainability. However, a few things stood out that require closer watch. The Visa stock gain was a major factor of financial performance. Big leadership changes might signal a shift in strategy or a need to improve performance, and the CEO's adjustment in his compensation is not something you often see. Northern Trust is a well-established player, but it operates in a competitive market. As always, investors should monitor the company's financial performance, its execution of its One Northern Trust strategy, and its ability to manage risks effectively. That wraps it up for today's Corporate Decoder. Remember to do your own research and not just take management's word for it. What did you find most interesting or concerning about notification bell for more corporate deep dives? Hit that notification bell for more corporate deep dives.